Do your own thing as you walk back again. So I just show you part of it. What's out there is all about the 1900s, so the famines behind these houses. It's different completely. This isn't long ago. So this house, myself, my family, we lived in this one to 1984. So if you had to come here in 1984, this bottom half of Doe, you'd have found 3 slate roofs in 1984. Everything was thatched. If you're not from Ireland, you might wonder too, what's changed it? So it changes everything. Ireland becomes part of the European common market. See, the big thing it does, it takes away trade barriers and allows a wee small country to sell to Europe and across the world. And because we can sell to different countries, companies all coming from America, Canada, elsewhere. So when the company came to any show was Fruit of the Loom, made t-shirts. So one time locally employed in this area 2,000 people, 3,500 altogether in the top part of Ireland. Today if you go to the south of Ireland, no, if you look at places like Dublin, Cork, Galway, it's all different today. It's computer companies, internet companies, medical companies, and that's what gave us the kickstart we are today. So when you go through here now, the message you should get is when your country can't sell them goods, it finds it very hard to survive. So the Ireland we're living in today, we could manufacture all different types of things, but that's no use to us if our country's not allowed to sell it. So the world's all about selling things. You'll understand as you go through here. What we've done in this house, when we lived here, it wasn't like this. We've broken through the gable wall into the barn. The door wasn't there. That was the barn, and you entered that building from the outside door. The majority of houses here, no matter how big the family was, has 1 bedroom and a kitchen. This is the kitchen, that's the bedroom. But every kitchen there's a kitchen bed like this, so this has got curtains. You'll see a house later, doors in the bed. When a house is 1 bedroom, this kitchen bed is a private room. You lie sleep in bed in the kitchen, doors are kept closed, and outside the bed they sit and work beside the fire. Another thing you must be careful about, if you're anyway tall, the doors are very low. But older people tell you nothing to do with height of person. They tell you the bigger you make a door, the bigger the draft becomes. So you live along the coast, try and keep the door as small as you can and keep the house warm. Notice too how they're thatched different to your area maybe. There's coastal thatching, so not only go you round the roof and you tie everything down very well. The problems here in winter is storm comes in from the Atlantic. And we thatch them with a grass called marb grass, as the grass grows in the sand on the beaches. And we re-thatch them every 2 to 3 years. Nothing's taken off, more must be put on top. And the reason we use such a thatch doesn't last long. Land is sand. Other types of thatch doesn't grow. It's cheap, easy got. Elsewhere they use a thatch like flax or reeds, the leaks, that lasts 8 or 9 years. But that doesn't grow in sand. So people use it what's handy, what's available. You don't have transport, you see. If you wanted a wife or a husband, they had to be somebody local. And then, this is what you're eating them days. That's the seaweed there called dulse. You dry that, you chew it, and you buy it in the shop today. So in today's world, it's like eating chewing gum. But you don't have chewing gum, but instead, you have seaweed. This here is a seaweed called slope. This grows in rocks and white sandy beaches, and you boil it and you eat it along with potatoes. If you don't like it, what your mother tells you to do, if you don't like it tomorrow, go to the beach yourself tomorrow, and she tells you tomorrow, you must pick something you like. There's nothing else to eat. And then you give up all these different seashells, and again they'll be boiled, and when the meat leaves the shell, we know they're cooked. 45 years ago, which is not that long ago, in this area, this was normal food. That's how people lived. So where you all come from, here your area might have changed far faster. And how they explain why that happens is, places like this are very remote. See, 45 years ago, most houses here still didn't have a car in their lifetime. They'd never travelled far away from here. They never had transport to travel. And the way older people explain it, the more you travelled in the world them days, more things you start to see. And the more things you see in this world, the more things you want. But older people tell you, if you never see that, you'll never want that. They say the biggest change in their life, television, changed their life. When the TV came into you realise what other people had, you see, and then you wanted those things.
How did you come to have meat now?
Meat?
Yes, you say that's meat.
Well, that's food, that's seaweed.
Right, yes.
Aye, so that's just down the shore there.
Right.
That's about the seaweed there too. That's called slackmara. That's an Irish word, means the rod from the sea. Your mother took it off from the sea, made a ring, and that's the teething ring for the baby. See, there's no plastic, you see. There's no dummies or dildos like now. So when a baby was crying, that's how you sort the baby out. But see, the thing about that, baby wants that. That's salty. The baby gets that in there, he throws away what you buy in the shop. What you buy in the shop doesn't have a taste. This one has a taste. And then, there's another seaweed here, and this is called carrageen moss. And Carrick is an Irish word, means rock. And we have all these towns called Carrick, like Carrickfergus, Carrickmacross. So if the town's called Carrick, the town sits on a rock, you see. The place we use this mostly today in Donegal is the hospice. This gives people strength when they're sick and they're ill. So they boil the seaweed with milk. When you've it boiled, you run it through a strainer, you throw this away, and you're back with your hot milk. And when your milk went cold, it became like a jelly, like a custard. So the person who's sick in hospital, trouble swallowing solid food like bread, this is jelly, easy to swallow, but gives that person strength very quickly. And now they pay good money for it in the hotel as a dessert. An ingredient for all ice creams. And you ladies notice it the most, because today this is the ingredient for your makeup. And today this is what makes the creams, the powders, the eyeshadows, the lipstick too. That's what sticks it to your skin. There's a gelatin in it, and because it's natural, this hasn't got nothing to do with animals. All the top makeup companies use it in here. But if you read up and you'll know wee simple things, when wallpaper came out first, that's how they hung it to the walls, it acts as a paste. So I'll bring you to this next house, but you come on here after yourself, you know, usually do your own thing, and I'll just show you part of it. So we're just across the way here. You need to make money, and how you make money, you sell things. And how the people this area survived, they made their own whiskey. The whiskey was called poachine. This area fared out a lot better than other parts of Ireland when the famine was happening. And one of the reasons was people were able to pay the rent, but how they paid the rent was selling poachine. And one of the big markets was Belfast. And how they got it down to Belfast, they boated from here down to Belfast. The landlords of the area turned a blind eye to what was happening. They know what was happening because they got the rent. But it later became, if you compare it with the world today, it's like drugs in an area today. It devastated the community, broke up families, and caused nothing but rows. And finally the government and the church comes together as a group, tried to stop it from happening. They put new laws in place for Donegal. One wee simple one was, they never needed a warrant to search a house here. And if you're caught with a glass of poachine, the same as caught with a barrel, 3 months in prison. So back in the 1920s, a train service ran from Derry City and to Carndona there. And there was this group of ladies, you may hear the word trafficking used in the news a lot now, and they were known as the traffickers. And how they got that name, they would get on this train with big long coats on them, around their body to strap all these bottles of poachine, and they head across the border into Northern Ireland to sell it. And they were known as the traffickers in the 1920s. And finally what brought it all to an end, the government took on a new law that every shopkeeper had to keep a logbook. So if any ingredients connected with making poachine has to be wrote down in this logbook, who buys it, the amount to buy on the date they buy it. And finally shopkeepers got fed up doing that, and they were always afraid of making a mistake and going to prison themselves. So if they suspected you're making poachine, they wouldn't have nothing to do with it. So that kind of brought it to an end. While they're all doing it, it's so simple to do. So in today's world, all you need is a gallon of water, 2.5 pounds of sugar, and a big handful of yeast. This is the yeast here, you see. Come down this way and you'll see better. So that's the yeast there. You put that into your bread, and it makes the bread rise. So all you need is that, sugar and water. Forget about the old way of doing it. The barley, the wheat, all that there, and the potatoes. And you put it in there, and this is what you're smelling now, and you think it's Kent. That's what it is there. And after put it in there, and after a couple of days, it all starts bubbling itself. And you think it's fire underneath it, but it's fermenting. And the only problem now, it has to stay in there for 6 weeks. And if you're caught with that, the same as caught with a barrel of poachine, 6 months or 3 months in prison for that there. So you've got to hide it, and when usually people would hide it, you hide it on the boundary of another man's farm. So if there's a drain running between your farm and another man's farm, you put it in the drain, and you could always argue, no, it's not your drain. So if it's caught in your land, you're responsible for your own land. And then after 6 weeks, what you do then, you put it in this, you put it in that tank there, you set it on top of the fire, and it just boils like a kettle does. And the steam goes up around this pipe, and you must remember, not everybody could afford a pipe, and they're always piecing bits of pipes together. And that meant the steam kept escaping. And how they stop the steam from escaping, they dig up from the ground here a clay called blue clay. It's like a putty, and you wrap it around the pipe, and when it gets a bit of heat, it hardens like cement, these things. And that seals it. This pipe now twists the whole way through here and comes out of the bottom. That's the most important part of it. That's called a worm. See, the pipe's not made right. It comes hollows in the pipe, and the steam lies in the hollow, and it blocks it up, and it's not cooling right now. And then when you drink it, it poisons you. So that's the most important part of it. That pipe twists the whole way like this here and comes out at the bottom. This bar, you keep filling it up with cold water, and the reason the cold water is to keep the pipe cold. That's a cooling system. That's all it is. So it's really simple. That's why they're all doing it. You boil it here like a kettle. The steam goes up around this pipe, it's hot up there, and when the type of steam gets to the bottom, the barrel of cold water has kept the pipe cold. When the hot steam hits the cold pipe, it goes back to liquid. So So what came out the first, so the only problem is now what comes out at the very beginning, this happened in America and everything, well they did it all over the world. The first part of it, you throw it onto the rocks, onto the ferries. Because you don't get the first part of the ferries, they say the ferries will come on you and they'll bring nothing but bad luck to you. You'll get caught, you'll go to prison, or you'll poison someone. So everybody threw that first part away into the rocks. But superstitions are there for a reason. So in today's Ireland, we have very few superstitions because young people are educated today and they can tell what's right and what's wrong. But in the past, in all these poor countries, it's full of superstitions. And the reason you create a superstition, there's a problem there and the problem's got out of control. And you've got to try to get this problem under control. And then you create the superstition. And that does it. See, what comes out at the beginning, what rises to the top at the beginning, you see it there, it's an optic nerve poison. And if you drink that first part, you go blind. And you hear people say if a man's drunk, he's blind drunk. So if you told a man who likes his drink not to drink that first part, you go blind, so many of them will chance it. But when you bring the fairies into it, they're not going to. That's the power of superstition. Today across the world, people abuse superstition, just the way they abuse religion, and you make people do things just because of superstition, you see. So some people still want to chance it, you see. But see, when you, because of the nerve poison, for the next week or two or the next month, you could be staring about there, wouldn't know who you are. And the older people would tell the young people, look at that man there, the fairies got him, he's away with the fairies, you may hear that. And that's what comes from all from it. It's not the fairies has him, it's the poison has him. But they put it down to the fairies. But when it comes out the first time, you put it on 2 more times and it'll purify. So after all them troubles and the whole story, and then everybody going to prison, today in Ireland the Irish government is encouraging people to make their own poaching. So you can get your own licence now and make your own poaching. So I'll just give you a taste. There's one man here, one of these guys, this is one man doing it. So. This is only a taster now, you know. You ever hear of bulb bean? Or bulb bean, you ever hear that? It's a plant that grows in wet land, it's a root you dig up, and there's medicine, and there's a cure for skin problems, and acne, and all those different things. And that's what's in that one there. That one, if you're drinking bulb bean. I don't think affected you for about an hour.
Somebody had the back on.
So, so at one stage the Irish government, or the government estimated that on any show there was 800 poaching stalls working at one stage, all at one time. This village in 1920, there was 14 houses in it, and out of 14 houses, 8 houses were making poaching. So it shows you the problems that brought up problem in the community, you see. Caused enough of the problem. Because it's a very thing, that's a thing you get hooked in very easily, poaching quicker than whiskey. You know. So if I was taking a drug like that every day, a couple of months you'd be on it. Because it happened to a friend of ours now. And we did quads. When we started this off, he would do quads on the beach, you know, very quads. The parents would come with the children, and while the parents are waiting on the children to go out with the quads, he'd give them a wee, just a wee drop like that there, but he'd take a notice of himself. And inside 3 months, his life was ruined. And went on to take his own life. So that's nothing to do with. So I'm going to bring you on a wee bit more, and then you can always come back and hear yourself. So come with me. At the beginning, this is not original. We've copied it from a house up the road. But imagine nowadays you have a very large family. You have 1 bedroom. This is your kitchen. You make use of all the space you had. See, back then in Ireland, that was called the settle bed. So at night time, this folded down, and you sleep inside like a box. The daytime, you fold it up, and now it's a seat now for sitting on it. So they call it a settle bed. The house we came out of at the beginning, there was curtains in the bed. This is the private way of sleeping. This has got a door. You lie and sleep in bed all day, and outside the bed they sit and they work beside the fire. Children are always asking, who'd sleep in a bed like that there? But if you live in the countryside on a farm, the same way you all come from, wherever you come from, most farmhouses in the past had a grandparent in them. If you had a grandparent in your house, that's where they slept. The only problem with your grandparents sleeping here, they control the kitchen from the bed. And they said all day long, you see, the orders came out of that bed there. But they said there's a reason for your grandparents sleeping there. Back then days, the mother house had so many chores. She used to wash, she used to carry in water, milk the cows, make all the dinners for maybe 8 children. do all the washing by hand. And it always meant when the mother would leave the kitchen's never never unattended, so the grandparents always in here. So they're really the babysitter. And older people tell you the biggest fear always was when children them days falling into the fire. So you got a wee bit more. Small room, but see how there's 2 beds in it, and how you get 2 beds in a small room because they slept different us. See, a lot of people sat upright in bed. See, older people tell you if you sit up in your bed, you not need a big long bed. So we thought that was an Irish thing, but the Europeans come here, the Dutch, the French, when they see short beds, they'll tell us sometimes theirs was even shorter. But the belief for them was lying flat might bring death. There's different ways of thinking. You go back in time. If you come from Britain, in Victorian times, most people sat up. So all this when you go through it, notice how it seems strange and crazy, but the way you understand history is, you've got to keep bringing the past world into the present world we live in today. And you compare the two things, and you'll find most things people do in the past, everything makes sense. If you're sick today, you go to hospital tomorrow, there's a chance at tomorrow's hospital, sure the nurse will sit you up in bed tomorrow night too. See, TB and asthma was big problems here, but just different ways of thinking. So what's the wee step there now? Now, we're surrounded by the sea, the water, but we'd be different to other parts of Donegal. This area didn't fish with a boat. If you look around, there's no such thing as a pier. And the reason is the tide that surrounds us is called Trebbega Bay. It's well known as treacherous for sandbanks, rocks, but really strong currents. So because of that, they'll keep out of the water but stay on the land and fish off the land with long poles like these men on these fishing rods. You start to fish around August of each year, and 2 weeks before you went fishing, a rule among the community. Whoever goes fishing, every house on different days should take it on their own turn, go to the place you fish. Now it only works at low tide with boiled potatoes. You mashed up the potatoes and you threw the potatoes into the water. And after a few days your fish get used to being fed. So there's the fish waiting there every day for you to feed them with potatoes. The fish they caught was these ones pollock. You catch about a bucket of them every day. They stayed only in the bay for the months of August and September. But every house caught enough fish in 2 months. They kept that family going for the whole winter. There's no fridge them days. Everything was salted. But just like sitting up on the bed now, we thought feeding the fish here, nobody else has that idea, only us. They come in from every country across the world and they tell us they've all done the same thing. In Britain today, feeding fish, anglers calls it ground baiting. Australia comes here, they call it burley. And America calls it chumming. Or if you go to an angling shop today, they'll say today a wee small remote control boat. You fill it up with special food today. It goes out as far as 100 metres in the deep water. And the fisherman now sits at the edge of the water with a remote control. The boat today drops food out the back. And the fish follows the boat back to the shore. That's the way it's all done today. These skins now, people ask about them, but about 25 years ago, here in Ireland now, unemployment was very high. And the government was trying different ways to try to create jobs. And one of them was alternative farming. And one of the ideas they came up with was deer farming. You might remember the other one was ostriches. And locally here, we had 2 deer farms. Started off alright, but after a couple of years, those farmers soon realised it was hard to get Irish people to eat venison. They'll eat it for a wedding or a one-off thing, but they'll not eat it every day. And very quickly, the market for venison for these deer became flooded. It meant these animals became worthless. And because they're worthless, the farmers lost interest in them. And if they broke out of the farm, they didn't gather them up again. You may know yourselves, deer is different to cows or sheep. If a cow or a sheep leaves your farm, the farmer will always be responsible for that animal, whatever happens. But not for deer. They come under the Wildlife Act. When they leave your farm, the class is a wild animal. So more likely it suits the government. They own all these estates with deer on them. If they hit your car, nobody's responsible, you see. But today around, and it's shown here in all the hills here, with deer running wild now. Because they've all come out of farms and they're breeding away on their own. They have their own packs. The ostrich was different. 2 farmers, 2 locally here went into ostriches. One farmer spent £2,000 per ostrich that time. So that was a lot of money 25 years ago. And he bought 4 of them, that was £8,000. But after 2 years, he realised that they weren't laying eggs, so he hoped to build a flock. And when he got them checked out, he was told the 4 ostriches he bought was all males. So these things happened. And this problem with the ostriches then, they got slower and slower, and finally they were on the ground, so they couldn't get up, couldn't stick this cold weather here in Donegal. And then, what came after that then, with all these farmers went into mushrooms. You might remember mushrooms. That was a big business here. That's all gone. Seems to have all gone today. What we have now, you'll be driving along the coast here and you'll be seeing things out in the water like trestles. And what that is, oyster farming. So a lot of people now are into oysters. The market for them is France and Holland. And there's at least 150 people employed at oysters here now. So big business today. The newest thing we have now, it's happened this last year. There's 2 farmers here at it, and there's one just started up and there's more starting it up. It's snail farming. So the snail that you be kicking out of the way in your garden, well today they're farming them. And the market for them is Spain, Portugal and France. Snails. So to get a bit more.
Easier to catch than the ostriches.
Now, there's no running water here till 1983, you see. So in 83 the houses come together as a group of people, bring the water from the mountain. The first time they've running water and the first time they've got toilets. Then the council water, you see, the government water comes to this area in 2005 there. So it doesn't matter where you are in the world, you're right at the end of the road, you'll be last to get these things. We think like broadband's not here yet. It's further up the road there, but you may know if you're from Ireland, a new company's brought over Eric, the telephone crowd, and they've ceased taking broadband into these remote areas. So broadband's not here. Some people carry water long distance. This man's got this frame around him. The purpose of the frame, you get 2 buckets of water beside your legs, carrying long distance, it quickly becomes heavy. This frame should be 12 inches wider than that, so both man's arms should be out like that, you see. See if you carry with the right frame, you're going to find you're not carrying the buckets anymore. You're pulling, and you're pulling against the frame, and the frame takes the majority of your weight, and because of the frame, you carry it 3 or 4 times the distance. But the way you understand how it works, you see, the simple way, you get a bucket of water, put a cord on it, tied up to the roof, it hangs down dead straight. It doesn't want to hang out like that, you see. Hangs down to 90 degrees. So you're hinged here, you see, you put a bucket of water out there, it doesn't want to be out there, it wants to hang beside your legs. But the frame doesn't allow that to happen, keeps it out there. But see, you must remember the weight doesn't see the frame, and the weight wants still to come onto your legs. Because the frame's in the middle, what's actually happening, that bucket is actually pushing against that bucket. And see what they tell you now, if something's pushing, it's not falling. Because you get to 2 things, you see. You can only do one thing at a time. It either pushes or it falls. So a certain amount of the weight is pushing, and that weight's not falling. And where that weight's going, the frame's taking that weight. And there's only a certain amount that's falling. The people are most interested in the secondary school students and the teacher and the physics. They go back to school, that's done as a project in a lot of schools today. So they make the frame, but everybody gets a chance to hold it. As a way of explaining how you can make weights and pressure work for you. See, this time the water's the weight, and the weight creates the pressure, and the pressure then hangs onto the frame. So go into the well, that doesn't work with the empty buckets. You carry the frame up your shoulder. This only works on the way back. And the reason them buckets are sitting there, just to show you how it works, we fill them with stones. It has some weight on it. And then the weight grips the frame, because that frame's only sitting on top of the bucket, there's nothing else holding it there. So you take out stones, it capsizes over. So to get a wee bit more now, keep going this way.
I'm from Karen.
Karen, you're local man, you
No, I'm outside Portugal.
And you're, well, you know you'd see with yours, how it all began, you see. People keep asking us, why do we do such a thing? Why do we sit beside the dead for tonight? Well, when you're researching it, you find there's a reason we do it. How it began, it wasn't just Ireland, your countries and all, across the whole world. A fear one time across this world of ours, and the fear that people had, a fear of being buried alive. And they sat beside the person at the beginning, and at the beginning they hoped that this person would wake up. So they called him Wake in Ireland, because we sat beside him at the beginning, hoping for him to wake up. We never bury a person in Ireland, same with you, on 1 or 2 days. It's 3 days or more before we bury somebody. And the reason we wait 3 days, because they tell us no, Christ did rise up on the 3rd day. So they tell us we should always wait 3 days. So when you went awake in the past, when you walked in the door, you'd have met the family. And after meeting the family, they give you a clay pipe to smoke. It's like a peace thing. So men and women sat and smoked a clay pipe in days. And you pass around to one another, plits of snuff. But see, one of the ingredients of snuff was tobacco. And people became addicted to snuffing it, just like we see people now addicted to cigarettes. So imagine you're addicted to snuff, and parts of Ireland had this rule, and the rule was, you rest a bit of snuff on the chest of the corpse. You go where you pay your respects, and as you walk away, you take a pinch of snuff. But see if you leave it among a group of people like you, and you're all addicted to snuff. In Ireland we have an old saying related to that. It disappeared like snuff in a week. So you put it up there, you see, you only get one chance to get it. We cover every mirror we have with a cloth. Everybody still covers the mirrors here. And they say that's in case you can see the reflection. The dead person may look out at you from the mirror, you see. So they're superstitious too. Well, the older people will tell you a lot of it goes back to drinking too much at wakes. Homemade drink, badly made drink, poaching, and what you see in the mirror could be hallucinations. No matter how bad he'd been, for the next 2 nights, you sit beside him and you pick out good things he's done. You never speak bad about the dead person you see. Everyone's afraid of the dead. And they said many a time, for the first time, a man meets his future wife sitting here at the wake. So it'd be as good as going to a pub to sit or a nightclub today. A good weekend is. Some parts of Ireland, they've got a woman in the house, and she's like an actor. And she sat and she cried and she wailed the whole time during it, to give it this sad feeling. See, in Ireland she's called a keener. Other countries would come here and they tell you, no, she's professional mourner. Keening is the Irish word for crying. Like all these things, no, it all seems crazy until you look at it from a worldview. It changes the whole thing. Everything they do in Ireland makes sense. So in France, in a place called Britain, and a place that's here too, but on their place saw it. Parts of Ireland saw it, Antrim had it, Britain had it, more likely your country had it. See, there's a superstition across the whole world at one time, all to do with salt. People went over to pay respects and said, walk away, take a pinch of salt, and walk away to throw it over their shoulder. And they said, this is for luck. And the reason the plate sits here, so today in Donegal, you see my Sligo, wherever you come from, when you go to a person's wake, the family expect you to stay a while. You're not supposed to walk into somebody's wake house, turn round and walk straight out the door. If you did that in this area, it's known as bad manners, and older people would tap you on the shoulder and say it's bad luck. So nobody wants bad luck, so everybody knows when they go to a wake, they should always stay for a while. You can't sit at a wake either on your own. See, the problem with you sitting at somebody's wake on your own, what you tell all you people after, you wouldn't believe that person. Because you think he's making things up, or you could imagine things too. And this is why you go to a wake in Ireland, you'll find everybody sits around the house like you're here now. And you're all here in numbers, but you're witnesses. And your job being here today, what you're supposed to be doing, but in Ireland you'll find they don't do it anymore. What you're supposed to do is keep attention at all times on the person. So by going to this wake, you volunteered to go there, but you promised the family by going there, you'll stay for a while, you'll watch the person while you're here, and you'll keep an eye on the plate for them, in case there's a slight movement from it, in case it wasn't dead. Well, you'll find in Britain in Victorian times, that was done different. They buried the person in Britain, from the coffin to the top of the grave, the pipe came up through the ground. Down through the pipe, a string of cord was attached on the person's hand inside the coffin. Well, up above on top of the grave, there was a stick with a bell. So people in Britain were paid to stay in the graveyard in case he moved his hand and rattled the bell. You heard them old sayings belonging to Britain. One was, that man was one time saved by the bell. No dead ringer, no the dead person's ringing the bell. See, that all comes one time from this bell they have on top of the grave. Well, in Ireland, you see, if the plate of snuff didn't move, they tell you in Ireland, that man there, he snuffed it. But that comes on a plate of snuff, you see. So if somebody comes here and tells us our neighbour snuffed it, no, when they say that, we know right away the person's dead, you see. Well, in Britain, you'll know, dead ringer means you look like someone who's already dead. And they'd look at you and say, you know, you must have come up from the grave. Because now you look so much like the person. What can cause it to happen, remember the pot sheen still in the last house? Remember the pipe going down to the barn? That pipe is made from copper, you see. And the reason you use copper, it doesn't work unless you bend the pipe the right way, so copper bends. But you have to remember they said, not everyone has copper. Some people use this on lead pipe. Lead bends the same as copper. And we didn't realise alcohol and lead reacts together. So the whiskey goes through the pipe, takes the lead from inside the pipe, and gives people lead poisoning. This means you're unconscious now for 2 to 3 days and you could come out again. Everyone was afraid of the dead. You still hear people say to you, if any of you are a doctor, if you're a nurse, no, you'll hear people say to you, don't you be speaking bad about a person who's just after dying. Because they said even today, the last thing leaves most people when the person's unconscious in a coma is the hearing. And they're always afraid the person that lay there, you see, they're always afraid that person was always listening. And the crying woman, the keener, the professional mourner had a purpose too, but made a strange sound and a strange noise. And the older people would tell you, it isn't crying, it's an awakening sound. And across the world today, you might still hear a mother say to her children, children make all the noise, you might hear a mother shout, you're going to awaken the dead. They'll be making all the noise. But that's the woman's purpose, you see. The woman tries to awaken the dead by making all the noise. The bell that Britain used on top of the grave, if you're from Ireland, you know yourselves, they use them for like Glasnevin Cemetery in Dublin. Other countries use the bell too, but they always tell you it's the rich that uses the bell, and it's the rich people that can afford to pay someone to stay in the graveyard. Up where you've got the town called Lurgan. So you go to Lurgan, there's a graveyard there called the Chantal Graveyard. If you go to that graveyard, there's a headstone still stands there. People goes to see it and tells about a woman, Margie McCall. She lived once, who'd been buried twice, that woman. If you ever go there, that's a headstone you look for, you see. So these things happen, you see. And this is why we do these things. You'll find as you go through the next part too, all ideas that they were using the family, they all seem crazy. But if you compare it with the world we live in today, no, the wider world, they all make sense. This one here looks like a fire gear, but it's not. Every hospital bed is one of them. That's the back brace for the bed. If you want the patient to sit up in the bed, put that behind the patient and you sit up. That's the fishing rod there I was telling you about now. That's the fishing rod. And every car you buy today in Sligo or even Romania is one of those. Jack for jacking up the cart behind the horse. If the cart falls into the hole and the horse can't pull it out, if you make the horse pull it out, you hurt the horse. And what the older people would say to you, you'd rupture the horse. So they try to avoid that. And they always lifted up the cart and put stones under it. And that's how it works like that there, you see. So it's like the table being the cart, go underneath it. And there's but look at what they use in the Grand Prix now. It's the same way of thinking again. Car goes into the pit stop, change the tyre flat. So bring you on a wee bit more. You can come back here through then at your own pace. You can explain this last part for you now. So this is a bit of a change for you now. So leave you now, horse. So good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So my name's Alana and I'll take you through the next part. From now on, it is going to be completely different to what you've seen out there. This is all about the famine now in Ireland when there was no food. And so when you start to go through this bit, well, you're going to find there was many different views. And one of the reasons why there had been no food, a disease hit the potato crop, and that's known as blight. There's another reason too. Go back long before the famine, you'll find industry here in Ireland, it was actually competing with industry in Britain. So say for example you were keeping sheep, it now competes with the sheep farmers over in Britain, and they're looking to shut that industry down. You make glass, it also competes with glass makers in Britain, and they want to shut that industry down as well. And then slowly, with all the restrictions they've done to the country, it had actually caused poverty. See, if there's poverty long term in any country, you're going to find the population, it begins to rise really quickly. Just look at all the poor countries of today's world. They usually have very large families. Then you look to the well-off countries with quite good economies. They're usually the ones that have quite small families. Back in Ireland at the time, the population had almost doubled. There was now over 8 million people living here, and they were all relying on really small portions of land to feed their family for the whole year. The only one crop they could find that would do that for them was potatoes. So see, if you look to that back wall here now, you'll find an average man was eating 6.3 kilos of potatoes every single day. And see that plate there in front of us? There's actually less than 6 on that. So it wouldn't be enough to feed a man for the whole day. And a woman, she'd very nearly eat this per day. How they explain it is, you wake up in the morning, if you're having to have these potatoes for your breakfast, your lunch, again for your dinner, you'll see you divide the plate into 3 or even 4 portions. You'll find it's not that many. And see, if you've got no meat, no fish, no vegetables to eat along with the potatoes, majority of them potatoes you see there, it's all made up of water. That's why you needed so many of them to keep going. Then your disease hit the crop, known as blight. Now you've got little or no food. So your government, the churches and the landlords, they're setting up all these different kinds of schemes, such as soup kitchens. Here in Donegal, we've called them brawn houses, and it means porridge has been cooked in large pots, like the one you see there. You now imagine if every one of you had to queue up day after day to get fed. See, if your life's not getting any better, you're soon going to become very dependent on the pot of soup. So they then decide, well, we're going to make our people work for that food and give them something to do. The work that was done in this area, you break the stone and you build the wall. You travel around Donegal, even any other part of the country, you may have seen these walls already. They're going across the tops of mountains, completely of no use. But it's how they came about. And you look closely to the mountain, you'll see they are slightly different. Just like the one you see there, it's covered in loose stone. And that means people who built the wall, they never looked for the stone, they never quarried for it either. All you had to do was just teach them how to build the stone. And you may already know yourself, because see the idea of building walls, it comes from the Romans. They used that method there to keep their armies motivated. If you come from Britain, over there, you'll find you've got Roman walls and Roman roads. Britain then took the idea here to Ireland. The problem was, many of them projects, they lasted too short of a time. The idea of building that wall, it came at the very beginning of the famine, but it didn't last long enough. And another way you compare that wall building to is, see in the Czech Republic, around the 1300s, there was a large famine there too. The king at the time, King Charles, he told his people he would feed them as long as they worked for their food. And he got his people to build this big wall around Prague. And if you were to go there today, you'll actually find part of the wall is still standing. What you have to remember is that wall in Prague, it was built 500 years before this one here even began. And it was a very similar way of thinking. So I'm going to take us through here now a little bit further. So this one we've got here now, it's actually one of the types of living conditions some people were living in during the famine. And it's called a scalp, but it got the name scalp from, as you can see here, there's only about enough to cover the very top of your head. Today you'll wonder, how was it possible for someone to survive in such conditions? But see, in today's world, there's people that come along here, they've been out working voluntary in famine parts. They'll look at these conditions, they actually believe it's quite good conditions to still what can be seen in today's world. You see, you're now lucky if you can find a piece of canvas cover that's big enough to cover you and just gives you that little bit of protection you're really going to need. Throughout the summer, we get all these different groups of people coming through here, and we've started to recognise a lot of people are here with the same question. They often want to know, how did a country surrounded by water, how had at one time nearly starved to death? Why hadn't they fished more? And you are going to find there's a few different answers to the question. You look out onto that hill there in the distance. The hill, it was once farmed. People lived on that hill. And behind it there's a beach. See that beach? Well, one time had really large sand dunes, very similar to the ones you'll see just across the water there. And it was on the 6th of January in the year 1839. That was 6 years before the famine. But a large storm, it hits Ireland, Britain, and it even managed to hit parts of Europe. The problem with the storm is, it doesn't just knock down houses, it also manages to burn them down. And how this storm burnt down your house, it now lifted the coal, the turf, the ashes, took it up the chimney and dropped it on other thatched roofs. You see, that set them all alight. And then the majority of the boats tied up around the coast that night, they're also destroyed in that one storm 6 years before the famine. The people that lived on that hill there and farmed on the hill, on the night of the storm, the sand was lifted from the sand dunes behind the hill. It covered this area, and it's actually covered farms throughout that hill. Houses, they've been hidden on top of the amount of sand that's landed on top of it. And you can still look for that storm today. You would just look it up on the internet, the 6th of January 1839. And if you went into a library today, even some of the bookstores, they've got a few books available there. One would show you, town by town, the damage that storm is doing to each town. Because in some parts of the country, in towns like Ballymena, full rows of houses there were burnt down because of that storm. So our next stop now is just going to be in here behind us. So this one here now is quite similar, and it's your sod house. If your area hadn't got the stone you see there, they're then going to make it out of sod and grass. The problem for many of the conditions, they weren't just remembered for the poor. See, in the past in Ireland, if a girl had a baby and she wasn't married, back then her family, they very quickly moved her away into something just like this. It's because back then, they believed it would bring bad luck if they were to do something like that. So immediately, they'd move her away from the family and the community. It was all down to a lack of education. In the past, when things went wrong for people, they started to look for all these different things to blame it on. Today, that's known as a superstition. And if you were here in Donegal 50, 60 years ago, the whole talk, it was about your fairies, your ghosts, and your banshees. And you'll find all these little stories, they're starting to disappear now. But it's because people, well, they've become more educated. They don't believe such things are necessary. And this here, it was the way of life for many girls in Ireland, right up into the Catholic Church. They then took over that role of looking after your girl and the baby with the convent and the nuns. See, in Britain, the asylum, the hospice, it was a way of life for girls there too. And it's hard to believe in today's world, girls could be stoned to death for things like that. So it does still happen. You'll question, how could the girl and baby, how is it possible for them to survive? Well, see, just like today's world, back then there was all these different charities. They'd go around and they'd feed that girl and baby. Betty Gamble, the lady that wrote this story just here, she's originally from Carndonagh. It's a town about 10 minutes on the road. She remembers in her lifetime a girl and a baby living in a sod house. And how she remembers it is, her uncle, he was a charity worker. He went around and he fed that girl and baby. Betty's now living in County Tyrone and she's in her late 90s. But you see, she would tell you, religion, it wasn't a barrier. It's hard to believe they were still here in Ireland not that long ago. So I'm going to take us down here now to our next stop. So this one we've got here now in front of us is slightly different. In the past, Britain ruled Ireland and they had it divided into large estates, such as large farms like that one there. And you were going to come along, you were then going to build your house on his land. You own the house you now see there. What you never own is the land that house is built on. And what if you couldn't pay your rent, the landlord now came along and he would demand you to get out of your own house. The first thing he'd then done, when he got you out of the house, you can actually see there, he'd nail the wooden battens across your front door. If you now re-entered the house after the landlord had left, you'd broken the law and also committed a crime. That crime, it was called breaking and entering. The second time you didn't pay your rent, however, the landlord, you now intended to knock down your house. And now you could possibly do that. The pole you see there, balancing on the chain, he now pulls it back, he lets it hit against your house. It's called a battering ram. When your house was then knocked down, you'd be left with one very similar to the one you see behind you, and that one is called a scalpeen. It was the remains of your house. So you're going to find now we've just got 2 more stops to go. After that, you'll have your own free time to wander about and do your own thing then. This one, as you can see, it's only on a miniature. We're trying to show the whole lifestyle of the landlord. That man that collected all your rent. And landlords at the time in Ireland, they wanted to copy landlords across Europe, which meant they had the large houses with the fancy gardens. The problem was, many of the landlords, they lived too high for lifestyle, and they're in constant competition with all their neighbouring landlords. How they funded the high lifestyle? Just like today's world, that landlord there, he borrowed away at all his money. And then how he intended to pay it back each year, his idea to divide the estates you see here into smaller and smaller portions. You have to remember the population of Ireland. It was rising so fast, so everyone needed just a small bit of land to try and survive on. Back then, what nobody saw coming was the recession. Along with that recession came the famine. Now these farmers, they're becoming unable to pay the rent. In turn, your big landlord at the bottom of the road, he couldn't pay off the debt he had already created. In the year 1849, the British government, they decided they would intervene, and they introduced an act which was called the Incorporate Estate Act. It now allowed them to come into the country, see any of them bankrupt estates across Ireland. They would take them over, and their job was to sell an estate off at a cheap price and hope someone new would move in, someone with new money and new ideas. They would get that whole estate back up and running again. But you see, the problem for many of the new landlords who were moving into the area, they often believed they'd make more money, more profit, if they now put sheep or cattle onto that land. They'd then start to clear all the people out of their houses. You look back, that was when many of your evictions were actually occurring. You then compare this situation to what happened across Ireland in the past 11-12 years. You'll see it's a very similar one. Just drive around in a show, even any other part of the country, you're going to come across some new houses, which some of them are very big too. Just like the landlord's town back here, your neighbour builds a big house, you want to do the same thing. And money was easily borrowed then. Everyone had been working, so they decided they would go ahead with it. But then, everything stopped. People are no longer able to to pay back their debts once again. And the Irish government, they had to come up with a similar plan to what happened back here. This time, they done it slightly different, and they introduced a company. Today, well, it's known as NAMA, National Asset Management Agency. Their job, to come into the country, and estates nowadays, they're hotels, shopping centres, apartment blocks. They sell them off at cheap prices. Once again, they're doing the exact same thing they done here over 150 years ago. And what you will find, no matter where you come from in the world, face similar ones too. And they're having secret meetings. This time theirs took place in barns, forges and behind hedges. They later named their building a meeting house, like the one you'll see just behind you here now. And the reason for the name meeting house, at the time in Ireland, one church was recognised by the government, and it was the Anglican Church. It wasn't until after a battle, known as the Battle of the Diamond, and that took place in County Armagh. See a section of the community there. They're feeling under threat from religions just like this one here. It later led to the development of the Orange Order, and their building is now called an Orange Hall, like you'll see down below, just off to the left hand side. And then this door in here to the right hand side, I'll just take you into the first room to explain it. So this one here, it's your safe house, and it's trying to provide the Republican view to what's happened in Northern Ireland over the past number of years. This house here, it's got 7 rooms. The only difference, as you can see, there's no doors. You see, each room has got a hidden doorway. So you have to go around each room, moving bits of furniture. In the first room here, the fireplace, it opens out like a door. From then on, you'll go room to room, moving different bits of furniture until you find the hidden door. So you imagine, say if you're being chased by someone in the army, if you got into this house before them, you'd seem to disappear. So in the second room then, you go on moving bits of furniture. The brown door is only the emergency door. When you get to the 5th room, there's 2 hidden doors. The one on lower level, that will get you on. So some of you will have to duck down a wee bit. But how you'll recognise you're in the 5th room is, you're now going to see Ian Paisley and Jerry Adams sitting together. In the next room, you'll see Peter Robinson with Martin McGuinness. In the very final room, you'll see Martin McGuinness again, but this time, he's shaking hands with the Queen. And again, you'll have to find them because they're hiding. But you see, this house, it just tries to show how the whole peace process came about and some of the people that were involved there too. Then on the outside of the door, on each side, there's 2 plaques. That shows, year by year, the individuals who lost their lives. This bottom half now, there's a few more surprises if you carry on down, and when you're done then, you'll make your way back up to the very beginning and in through the gift shop. That'll be your exit. So enjoy the rest of your visit now, and thanks very much for your attention. Thank you. See you later.